Ever catch yourself in a conversation where you're nodding along, like you totally get it? Someone's describing their job, right?
Yeah.
You're like, supply chain logistics coordinator. Yeah, yeah, for sure. But inside, you're picturing someone with like a literal chain of supplies, maybe even tiny little flags.
Right.
Well, get ready because today we are diving into a career that might just have you reaching for that mental picture again.
hmm
We're talking about the Matrose.
And I can already tell you, it doesn't involve tiny flags.
Okay, good to know.
But it is a surprisingly vital role in a world we don't often think about.
Yeah.
Inland water transport.
Okay, so we're talking rivers, canals.
Exactly. Those arteries of commerce that most of us kind of take for granted.
Yeah, makes sense. It's not like we're hopping on a barge to get to work every day. So who IS this mysterious Matrose?
Well, at the most basic level, a matrose is a skilled professional who works on those vessels we're talking about. They make sure everything runs smoothly and safely, and that goods are transported efficiently.
Okay, sounds straightforward enough.
But here's the thing. It's surprisingly multifaceted. We're not just talking about steering a ship. This role involves everything from navigation to handling cargo to maintaining the vessel to even operating complex machinery.
Wait, hold on. So it's like a one-person cruise situation. I thought this was about boats, not becoming an entire fleet.
It's a lot more involved than people realize. And I think that's what makes it so interesting, right? It's not just about specializing in one specific skill. It's about being adaptable and knowledgeable in so many different areas.
Well, you've definitely got my attention now.
And the source we're looking at today, the RoleCatcher Guide, actually has a great quote that really highlights this. It says that a matros needs to be comfortable working at the helm, on deck, in cargo holds, and the engine rooms.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of hats to wear.
Talk about range, right?
So let's break that down a little. Let's
Sounds
start with, say, the helm. I'm assuming it's more than just holding a giant steering wheel and hoping for the best.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Right.
But yeah, it is a lot more than that. While knowing how to steer is, of course, crucial, it's just the beginning. I mean, imagine navigating a narrow canal with a cargo ship twice the size of a city block.
Oh my gosh.
You need a deep understanding of waterway rules, the ability to communicate effectively with other vessels, locks, often in really challenging conditions, by the way. And on top of all of that, you need constant awareness to make sure everyone on board is following safety protocols.
It's like they need the spatial reasoning of a chess grandmaster combined with the communication skills of a hostage negotiator.
And the stamina, don't forget the stamina.
Oh, right.
Because we haven't even gotten to the physical demands of working on deck.
Yeah, good point. So we're talking about, what, securing those massive mooring lines?
Exactly. Operating heavy machinery for loading and unloading cargo.
Yeah.
It's a physically demanding job, no doubt about it.
This is why I love these deep dives, honestly. I had no idea there was so much involved in, well, just those two aspects of the job. And we haven't even touched on the engine room.
Oh.
I have to admit, my knowledge of engines pretty much begins and ends with knowing where to put the gas in my car.
Well, get ready to expand that knowledge.
Okay.
Because engine rooms on these vessels are fascinating. You've got these massive diesel engines, complex electrical systems, sophisticated monitoring equipment. It's really like the heart and brains of the ship all rolled into one.
Okay, so we've got the helm, the deck, the engine room. I'm starting to think Matrose is just code for master of all things nautical. But with all this talk of heavy machinery and these complex systems, where does technology actually fit into this picture? Like, part of me still imagines a lot of old school ropes and knots and...
Right, you kind of have this image of the old-fashioned sailor.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really fascinating blend of tradition and cutting-edge tech. Yes, those traditional seafaring skills, they are still super important.
Okay.
But technology plays an increasingly vital role in modern inland water transport. Think electronic navigation systems, digital communication networks, even software that helps automate cargo loading and optimize fuel efficiency.
So those iconic signal flags they used in, like, old movies, those are purely for show now.
Not entirely.
Yeah.
You might still see them used for certain signals.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we've moved beyond relying solely on flags for complex maneuvers in this day and age. Can you imagine trying to coordinate a tricky docking procedure with another vessel during a storm using only flags?
Oh my gosh, I'm getting anxiety just picturing it.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Technology for the win. Okay, but speaking of navigating complex situations, this whole Matrose gig, it's got to be more than just like a one and done kind of career. There's got to be some serious room for for growth within this field, right?
Oh, absolutely. There
Hmm.
definitely is. The source we're looking at, this RoleCatcher guide, actually outlines 5 distinct stages of a Matrose's career.
Mm.
And each stage comes with increasing responsibility, increasing expertise.
5 stages. Okay, so there's like a real progression here. It's not just about climbing aboard and instantly becoming Captain Knotbeard.
Right.
So walk us through this career path. How does someone actually move through those stages?
Sure. It's a real journey. It blends hands-on learning with this increasing mastery of all these different skills. So think of it like this. You start as a deckhand. And at this stage, it's all about gaining that practical experience. You're
Mm.
assisting with equipment, handling lines, helping with cargo. Basically, you're like the extra set of hands wherever needed. And muscles, probably.
Yeah, sounds like a crash course in all things nautical and probably a fantastic workout too.
For sure.
But where do you go from there? What's that level up moment?
So as you gain experience, as you demonstrate your skills, you can then progress to roles like able seaman. And in this role, you're taking on more responsibility, maybe even supervising some of the less experienced crew members.
Okay, got it.
And then you have the officer in charge of a navigational watch,
Okay, that sounds important.
which, as you might imagine, involves, overseeing the navigation, safety during a specific watch period.
So the responsibility is really starting to ramp up here.
Yes.
And eventually that path, it can lead all the way to becoming the master. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So what does that actually mean in this context? Is it being the captain of a cruise ship, but for cargo instead of like cocktails?
It's definitely comparable in terms of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
The master is ultimately responsible for absolutely everything that happens on that vessel. We're
Yeah.
talking navigation, crew management, cargo operations, safety, regulations, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
It's a position that demands not just years of experience, but also really exceptional judgment and composure, especially under pressure.
Talk about a high stakes career. But you know what's really interesting here, even for those of us who might never actually set foot on a ship, is this idea of starting somewhere specific, but then branching out. I mean, the Matrose path really shows that even within one field, even within one career path, there are so many different directions you can go. There's so many different skills you can develop.
Absolutely. And I think it's not even just about like upward mobility. It's more about recognizing that growth can mean just becoming more well-rounded, more versatile within your chosen field.
It's like that saying, become so good they can't ignore you, but, adapted for the open waters.
Exactly.
Speaking of becoming good, though, one of the things that really stood out to me in this RoleCatcher material was their list of essential Matrose skills. And you've got the, I guess, kind of obvious ones, like you need to be able to operate machinery, follow safety procedures, be a good team player. But then there's this one that really threw me for a loop. It said river speak. I mean, it made me think of like, a secret language of grunts and whistles.
Right. It sounds a little mysterious, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's definitely more specialized than your average water cooler conversation.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how crucial communication is in this line of work. Think about it. You're on a winding river. You might have limited visibility. You can't always just pick up a radio or a cell phone.
Yeah.
So river speak, it uses this combination of standardized phrases, visual signals, even horn blasts to get important information across quickly and effectively.
So it's like their own version of Morse code, but tailored to, the specific challenges of navigating inland waterways.
Exactly.
And it really makes you think about how important clear communication is in pretty much any field.
In any job.
Even if we don't have a cool name for it, like, river speak.
Right.
Whether you're leading a team meeting, writing up a technical report, even just explaining something to a friend, that ability to get your message across clearly and concisely is invaluable.
It really is. It's universal.
It's like that Matrose lesson in action to adapt your communication style to the environment and the situation. But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something that tends to make people a little nervous.
Okay.
Job interviews. Now it turns out that RoleCatcher, they don't just do those amazing career guides. They also have this really cool tool for interview prep.
Yeah, they do.
And they actually have a whole section that's tailored specifically for aspiring matroses.
I mean, it makes sense. It's a very specific field.
It's super helpful.
It is.
So they have this massive database of interview questions. Over 120,000 of them, which just seems wild to me. But what's really neat is that they tailor the questions to the specific role that you're actually going for. So whether you're just starting out, you want to be a deckhand, or you're going for that master position, they've got you covered.
Yeah, it's like having a crystal ball, but for job interviews.
Exactly. So give us an example. What kind of, curveball questions might somebody encounter in one of these Matrose interviews?
Well, one example that really stood out to me was, can you describe a time you had to handle a difficult situation on board? Now, your first thought might be to come up with this really dramatic story, right? Battling rogue waves and whatnot.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's more about demonstrating your problem-solving skills in those everyday situations. Maybe it's a mechanical issue,
Right.
maybe a conflict between crew members, or a sudden change in weather conditions.
Or even just like a flock of geese blocking the waterway.
Exactly. You never know.
You never know.
But the thing is, that question is getting at something really important. It's not about whether you've encountered that specific problem before. It's about how you think on your feet, how you stay calm when things get tough, and how you work with others to find solutions.
Right. And those skills are valuable in any job, really.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that, yes, technical skills, those are super important, but those soft skills, being able to communicate effectively, being adaptable, being a problem solver, those are what make you stand out in the long run, no matter what you do.
Absolutely. All right, so we've talked about what it takes to be a Matrose, the different things they do, how their careers can grow, even how to handle those sometimes terrifying job interviews. But I think what really stands out to me from all of this is how much this job, this career, really emphasizes constantly learning and adapting. I mean, the world of work is changing so quickly these days, and it seems like Matroses are kind of at the forefront of that, always learning new skills, trying new things. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us that a fulfilling career path, it doesn't always have to look like this straight line, this upward trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's about becoming more skilled and more knowledgeable in ways you might not have expected, even if it means like taking a detour or veering off the traditional path a bit.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder, like, what are those skills or those areas of knowledge that I'm naturally drawn to, even if they don't, like, directly relate to my current goals?
Yeah.
Because I don't have to actually become a Matrose to benefit from having that Matrose mindset,
Oh,
that adaptability, that commitment to continuous learning.
exactly. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to code, or you have a knack for languages, or you've always, I don't know, secretly wanted to build furniture or something.
Right.
The point is, those interests, even if they seem totally unrelated to what you're doing right now, they can still lead to a more well-rounded, more fulfilling professional life.
It's like that saying, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can really connect them looking backward.
Yeah, I love that one.
So maybe it's really just about collecting those dots, collecting those skills and those experiences, and then trusting that eventually they'll come together to create something meaningful.
And you never know, those seemingly random dots, they might even connect in ways that give you some kind of unique advantage later on, or even lead to a career you never would have imagined for yourself.
Right. I mean, if someone had told us a week ago that we would be geeking out over the details of being a Matrose, I probably wouldn't have believed them.
Not at all.
And yet, here we are talking about river navigation and specialized vocabulary and all sorts of things.
Exactly. It just goes to show you never know where life's going to take you.
So I guess what we really want to leave our listeners with today is this. Think about one skill that you're curious about, something that you've always kind of wanted to learn but maybe haven't made the time for yet. Write it down, maybe look up a class, or even just spend, I don't know, 5 minutes today reading about it. Because you never know, that one little step, it could be the beginning of your own unexpected and hopefully incredibly rewarding journey.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And who knows, maybe someday you'll be sharing your own unique career story on a future episode of The Deep Dive.
That's right. We'd love to hear it.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those curiosity engines running.
Hear, hear.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.